Weekdays 9 Eastern.
May help children like Peter live longer, healthier, happy lives.
It's Tonight with Fred and Vince, 11 Eastern on CNN.
The city once known as Saigon commemorates the end of what Vietnam calls the American War. We will go live to Ho Chi Minh City. Pakistan signals it's ready to talk with India to try and put an end to scenes like this. And 1 week after the forced removal of Elian Gonzalez, tens of thousands of Miami Cuban Americans demonstrate peacefully. From the CNN Center in Atlanta, this is Worldview. I'm Brian Nelson. Andrea Hall is off. Thank you for joining us. It is a weekend of mixed emotions for so many of those directly affected by that long conflict that Americans knew as the Vietnam War. A quarter century ago, Sunday, the capital of South Vietnam fell to North Vietnamese tanks. These are pictures from Vietnamese television broadcasting ceremonies marking the end of the war. In the city of Saigon, which has now been renamed for the late North Vietnamese leader Ho Chi Minh, the formal observances of that 25th anniversary have just begun. CNN's Tom Mintier is in Ho Chi Minh City now, and he joins us live. Hello, Tom.
Hello, Brian. 25 years ago on this day, the scene was dramatically different than it is here in Ho Chi Minh City today. There was fear, there was panic as North Vietnamese tanks and troops made their way into the city to finally crush the South Vietnamese military. The Americans had left long before, but on April 30th, 1975, that was the day of the mass evacuation. Everyone who could leave Saigon, whether they were American or Vietnamese, did so. A lot of people went to the port, gave up all their gold, got onto a ship, and left the country. Many of those people have come back, and at the presidential palace, which was the seat of the South Vietnamese government, ceremonies are underway right now, and it is a parade that has been moved inside on the 20th anniversary of the end of the war in Vietnam. The parade wound its way through the streets of Ho Chi Minh City and made its way past the presidential palace. Now on the 25th anniversary, they have moved it inside. Now, Ho Chi Minh City officials say they did not do this for security reasons, but for cost reasons. They say by holding the ceremonies inside the presidential palace, it only costs about $75,000 US. They say providing security for a parade outside on the streets of Ho Chi Minh City would have been far more expensive. So they, even though we've seen them doing security preparations, looking for any explosives on the grounds of the presidential palace, they say it was not security reasons, but simply cost reasons that they moved it inside. Now, last night, the scene was a little different. The people were celebrating out on the streets, people riding their motorbikes around the center of town. There were a lot of banners and bunting in the streets, and sort of an unofficial way last night, people were making their way around this city, taking a look at all the buildings that were lit for the night, and celebration in their own way. Now, this is indeed a celebration of mixed emotions for the people who have been residents longer than 25 years in Ho Chi Minh City. They remember the way it was and the way it is now, which is dramatically different. So the government ceremonies are occurring inside the presidential palace, and other people on the outside are watching with mixed emotions. I'm Tom Mintier, CNN, reporting live from Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam.
Thank you, Tom. In much quieter ways, many Vietnamese war veterans are doing what many American war veterans are doing thousands of miles away. They're remembering their fallen comrades in arms. Hundreds of them gathered to do that in the city of Cu Chi, Vietnam. Cu Chi was headquarters for the Viet Cong forces. More than 3 million Vietnamese died in that long war. 58,000 Americans lost their lives. U.S. involvement in the conflict ended 2 years before South Vietnam fell to the communist North. And CNN's website has more extensive coverage on the end of the war in Vietnam, including a retrospective and a timeline on the war's impact on U.S. culture. In other news, a possible breakthrough in the dispute over Kashmir. Pakistani military ruler General Pervez Musharraf tells CNN that he is ready to hold peace talks with India's prime minister. The disputed territory of Kashmir has caused 2 wars between the neighboring countries, and some fear it might lead to nuclear war. Musharraf says that it is now time to put those fears to rest. On Saturday, he spoke with CNN's Satinder Bindra.
Who would you consider from the Indian side for such talks?
Well, I would certainly like to talk to the Prime Minister, the person who's in charge and who's going to decide.
What would Pakistan like to talk about?
Talk about Kashmir. We have to solve the Kashmir dispute, and we'll be very open, very frank, very flexible, very practical, very realistic. But it is the Kashmir dispute which we have to address.
India's Prime Minister discussed the possibility of peace last month with President Clinton, who had visited both countries. There is no word yet on when a possible meeting between the Indian and Pakistani leaders might happen. A massive show of public outrage by Cuban exiles Saturday in the U.S. city of Miami over last week's government seizure of young Cuban refugee Elian Gonzalez. Thousands took to the streets of Miami's Little Havana neighborhood in one of the biggest protests seen so far. CNN's Mark Potter was there.
The theme of today's rally was Justice for Elian, Liberty for Cuba. Thousands and thousands of Cuban Americans gathered in Miami's Little Havana on Calle Ocho, Southwest 8th Street. An 18-block area was set aside for the demonstration. Organizers and police officials predicted it would be peaceful, and indeed it was. The purpose was to show widespread dissatisfaction with the government's handling of Elian Gonzalez.
I thought it was a criminal act for him to be taken out like if he was a criminal.
I can't believe what's happened. I'm ashamed to say that I'm American. I just can't believe it.
It's about Elian. He's a little boy. Do you think that was right? That was not right what they did to him.
The Elian Gonzalez case has heightened tensions in this multi-ethnic town, and many here worry about damage to the city's image. Before the rally, Elian's great-uncle, Lazaro Gonzalez, issued a statement calling upon the community to reunite and not be torn apart by recent events. Attending the demonstration was Miami's Cuban-American mayor, Joe Carollo, who is embroiled in a political controversy. He strongly supported Elian's Miami relatives and was upset with the police department's involvement in the case. 2 days ago, he fired the city manager. Yesterday, the police chief retired, harshly criticizing the mayor. Carollo refused an interview request by CNN.
If I'm going to talk to you, is CNN going to put my words? I'm tired of giving CNN interviews, and you take all my words on. And whenever I get something on, it's just a tiny little bit. So I hope you're not going to do to me what Castro does to me in Cuba, that my voice can be heard. So if once you get your okay from your owners, that if you're going to interview me, you're going to put my voice in the air, all of that I say, then I'll gladly give you an interview.
Nearby, there were counter-demonstrations, a small one calling for Mayor Carollo's ouster, a larger one with several hundred people supporting the U.S. government.
I think everyone here agrees that Janet Reno did what she had to do, and we support her.
But by far the biggest rally was in Little Havana. The crowd was peaceful, but is still angry about what is happening with Elian. Mark Potter, CNN, Miami.
Young Elian remains in seclusion with his father, his stepmother, and half-brother at a Maryland farm. Juan Miguel Gonzalez, his father, has agreed to keep his son in the U.S. while the asylum case brought by his Miami relatives plays out in court. On Saturday, Immigration and Naturalization Service agents involved in last weekend's early morning raid gathered for a picnic to celebrate the success of what was called Operation Reunion. The next court hearing in the Elian Gonzalez battle will be May the 11th. In the United States, still 4 people are dead following Saturday's hostage standoff at a home just outside of Detroit. Police entered the house less than 2 hours ago, and they found the gunman and 2 women hostages shot to death. A 4th man was shot and died during surgery. Police say the gunman had been distraught over his wife's decision to leave him. And more charges are expected to be filed against a Pennsylvania man accused of Friday's deadly shooting spree in suburban Pittsburgh. The former immigration lawyer is accused of killing 5 people in what police call a racially motivated attack. A 6th victim remains hospitalized and is in critical condition. Ahead on Worldview, the new leaders of Russia and Japan try to build a new relationship. Also, changing strategy in the U.S. presidential race is Vice President Al Gore causing his Republican rival George W. Bush some new headaches? That story's up next.
Are you ready? What if your kid gets into Harvard? What if your mom needs long-term care? What if both happen at the same time? Scudder Investments can help to prepare you for what you want or whatever comes. Contact us or your financial advisor. What if? Be ready.
Who's asking about Viagra? Someone you might expect, and also someone that maybe you wouldn't. In fact, you may be surprised at who's talking to their doctors about Viagra. So ask your doctor if a free trial of Viagra is right for you. Who's asking about Viagra? Maybe it should be you.
I'm a professional vandal. I break in, damage, destroy. I'm Peter Day, and I train our claims adjusters at Liberty Mutual Insurance to help them understand what it's like